Hello, I'm Sora Luxon, and this is an introduction to the 7 Hermetic Principles. I'll get into each principle specifically in detail, what it is, and how you can use it, how you can work with it within its own video in this playlist. For now, I'm just going to give you a brief, quick summary of all 7 as an introduction. The Hermetic Principles are what all real Hermetic magic functions from. They date back to an Egyptian Greco text, the Corpus Hermeticum. But they're also found across all cultures and religions and times, right, in different ways. They're detailed fully in the teachings of the Kabbalion. They're a compendium of mystery, of the occult hidden master key axioms, those teachings that describe the nature of all reality. And they present themselves to those who are ready to hear them. So the first Hermetic principle is the principle of mentalism. That is, that the universe is mental and the all is mind, right? This is a pretty famous one. The all is mind. Thoughts are things. There is a universal living mind. You can be responsible for everything you create by being responsible for everything you think. It's a very broad topic, and like I said, I'll get into it in its own video, but in short, for now, the all is mind. The second Hermetic principle is the principle of correspondence. That is, as above, so below. This one's really famous, right? That Hermetic phrase is so famous. As above, so below. Physics, for instance, is mirrored, right? The atom functions much the same as the galaxy. There is always a correspondence between the laws and phenomena of the various planes and fields of existent being. This is the key by which all paradox may be unraveled if the practitioner understands how to apply the law. The macrocosm and the microcosm are reflections of each other, right? So if, for instance, you're looking at something that you are the microcosm, looking at your behavior could define the function of the macrocosmic behavior without you ever having to see it. By using this principle, we can reveal the unknown without direct experience. The universe is self-similar across all scales. That's another way of thinking about it, another really good way to think of it. This principle is the law by which man can reason intelligently from the known into the unknown. Principle number 3, the Hermetic principle of vibration. Everything moves. Nothing is ever at rest. Nothing is ever still. That is the third Hermetic principle, the principle of vibration. Everything is always in motion. Modern science endorses this now, right? It's fact, it's been proven. But Hermetic law has held this truth and its value since ancient times, that manifestations of mind, energy, matter are the consequence of varying rates of vibration. The universe has no solidity. Resonance is functioning constantly. Masters of this principle and application may control their own mental vibration as well as the mental vibration of others. It can also allow the conquering of natural phenomena. Hermetic principle number 4 is the principle of polarity. That is, that all opposites reconcile, all things are dual. If you've been listening to my magic lessons, we've started going over depolarization work, right? That has to do with this principle, with this Hermetic magic law, right? The principle of polarity. Everything has two poles. Everything holds its pair of opposites. An axiom that's found repeated everywhere all the time in every possible way I can think, right? Negative, positive, dark, light, hot, cold, on, off, right? You can think of the yin yang symbol is a really popular example of this. It's an explanation symbolically of what the many can only perceive as paradox, while the few understand that thesis and antithesis are identical, that their differences only arise as a matter of degrees. All extremes meet at their extremity, and all opposites may be reconciled. Therefore, all truths are but half-truths, right? It's like every coin has two sides, but it's still one coin. That's the same idea. Opposites are poles. All things have two poles. And opposites are really only two extremes of the same thing, which appear as a variety between those poles. Light and dark are the same thing. It's our perception of them being different, which is simply a manifestation of varying degrees of difference between the two poles of the phenomena. Like hot and cold, right? There's no absolute hot or absolute cold. You can't find one on a thermometer or in science. There's no place where one leaves off and another begins. Understanding and application of the principle of polarity by means of the will allows the master of this law to transmute one pole into another, both in himself and in other people. The fifth Hermetic principle is the principle of rhythm. That is, the ebb and flow pervades the all. It's all pervasive. There is a measured motion, a to and fro, if you will. You can think of it as the swing of a pendulum, that backward and forward motion, right? It's a tidal type of rhythm between the poles that I've just been discussing. There's an action and reaction followed by action and reaction, right? See, there's a metered motion. All things rise and fall, advance and retreat, grow and die. In minds, matter, governments, suns, stars, mankind, energy, animals, and all things, this law is manifest. By grasping this law, the Hermeticist may overcome its effects by use of neutralization method. The principle, like all the Hermetic principles, is law, and it cannot be overcome or ceased. It can't be stopped. But the effects of it may be escaped by degrees, depending on the degree of mastery of it. A master Hermeticist may learn to use it instead of being used by it, by applying polarity and neutrality to counteract, with the application of a specific ends. Firmness can be attainable, unlike the swinging of the many who are caught in the rhythm of the pendulum. Principle number 6, the Hermetic principle of cause and effect. That is, there is a cause and an effect, and every effect has a cause. Everything happens according to law. The higher plane may dominate the lower planes, but there is no such thing as chance. This can be seen in the teachings of karma and dharma. There is an art whereby the Hermeticist can rise above common planes of cause and effect to a degree, thereby becoming a causer instead of the affected. By taking control of their power, the master ceases to be a pawn, no longer obedient to outward causes like environment or other people's wills. This is by use of the law rather than by being the tool of the law, right? That's principle 6, cause and effect. Hermetic principle number 7 is the principle of gender. This isn't gender the way most people think of gender, but the principle of gender is that all things have a feminine and masculine element. In this plane, physically, gender manifests as sex. That's one of the ways it manifests, but it's not so on every plane. But in every plane, gender does manifest. It's always there. Creation and regeneration from creation requires the generation of both elements, and so everything contains the elements of both within it, a passive and active force. All that is male also holds the female element, and all that is female must also contain the male principle. This principle has nothing to do with lust or the labeling of sex and gender the way it's commonly understood. Those are fallacy corruptions of the great Hermetic principle of gender, and they aren't useful teachings. They hold no value, and they're degraded. They aren't useful. But there is a Hermetic principle, the seventh principle, which is very useful and necessary to understand, and that is the principle of gender, that all things have feminine and masculine elements. So those are the 7 Hermetic principles in short, in summary for you. Like I said, I'll go over each in depth in its own video. And I think that's it for now. Until next time.